Hello, my literary luminaries, and welcome back. Still have the cold, still recording this the same day as the last video. You know the drill, my brain is full of fuzz and I can't focus on things. But it's time for Top 5 Thursday. This week's topic is your top 5 biggest book hangovers. Now, I'm taking this to mean any book that has impacted me emotionally enough that I've had to step back and not read anything else for a while. Which means I'm talking both good hangovers and bad hangovers. So, without further ado, let's get started. But beforehand, I apologize if the trash truck thingy bangs in the middle of all this, so sorry. Number 1. I'm going to start with the good book hangovers, because that's nice. And the first one is one of my most recent ones, and I've talked about it in a couple videos prior, and that is Song of Summer by Laura Lee Anderson. Again, this book absolutely blew me out of the water. And in many ways, because I associated so strongly with the people and the places in that novel, I couldn't think about anything else, let alone try and read anything. I was so caught up in that world, a world in which I have lived, that there was no chance I could do anything else for a while. That was really the first one in a long time that sort of hit me and wouldn't let me go. But, it was such a good book. Such a good book. But, again, that one's very specific to me because I'm from that area. I love that kind of stuff. It was fantastic. But, absolutely, number 1. Number 2. Actually, several of these are ones that I've talked about in videos recently. Number 2 is actually a trilogy, but I read them all sort of rapid fire. And that's the Black Jewels trilogy by Anne Bishop. This was one of the first series, probably because I read them all in one chunk, like I said. But this is one of the first series where I got done with it and immediately was like, I have to read this over again. I don't think I actually did, because they're good length books. And I'm really bad at rereading books for some reason. But I was so immersed and so much had sort of opened up to me in the last book that it took me a bit to get into another book because I was still so wrapped up in that world and desperately wanted to relive it all over again. But I've talked about the Black Jewels before. It's a fantastic series. And I do still really need to reread them again. But if I put every book I wanted to reread on my TBR, I would literally never read another book. New book, ever. It'd be, bleh. But anyway. Number 3. Yet again, following up on ones that I've talked about before. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. For reasons you can probably guess from every other reason I've talked about this book. A lot of heavy stuff happens in this book. A lot of stuff is revealed, a lot of stuff happens, dealing with my favorite character. I have distinct memories of just sort of staring at the book for a long time after I finished it. I really, no more can be said. That book hits you right in the heartstrings and then rips them out and laughs at you while you bleed. Number 4. Now we're going to talk about 2 that were more negative book hangovers for me. And the first one was one I read for school. So there's probably a review of it up on my blog somewhere, but I don't think I've talked about it here on the channel. And it's a book called The Butcher Boy. And I don't remember who the author is, but give me 2 seconds and I'll go find out. Right, so, Butcher Boy, Patrick McCabe. Read this for school. Assigned to me by my mentor. I knew nothing about it walking in, other than I believe Mr. McCabe is an Irish author, like natively Irish, which would make sense because one of my Irish mentors was the one that told me to read it. And this isn't going to tell me. Oh wait, here we go. Yes, born in Ireland. And that comes through a lot in the writing, and I like that, but the problem is it's very Irish at times. And so not only did it take me a while to get into the book, in a similar way that The Scarlet Letter took me a while to get into because the language was so different. There's a lot of language issues like that when reading, more rural Irish. I mean, any kind of other English speaking, in the UK or Ireland or Scotland or anything like that, you're going to run into problems occasionally because the dialect is simply so different, much as Old English was, etc., to the way we speak English now. But this book got so dark so fast, and I was so lost through a whole bunch of the book. I remember just sort of like setting it down when I was done, being like, right, I'm going to go watch ponies and fluffy clouds and like give me some like Pokemon or something. I need something happy. Because I couldn't, my brain couldn't adapt for a while. It was an interesting experience. It's not a bad book, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it was a good book for me. And number 5. I believe I did a book review for this book actually on the channel a while ago now, back closer to its release date. But the name of the book is I'm Not Her by Karasu Achterberg. And I read this for Storyplant, and I did a review of it, and it's a good book. But it deals with something that I've spent a very long time in my personal life dealing with, and it hit really hard, really close to home. And it made it really difficult to sort of focus on anything else after that. Because if you didn't read my review, or you didn't watch it, I'm Not Her deals with sort of someone who is classically, societally pretty. She's thin, she's athletic, she's rich. She's got everything in her life going for her. And then the other woman is, very overweight, has a lot of problems at home, doesn't have a lot of money, works a really awful job, has all these sort of issues like that. And they sort of do a Freaky Friday. They swap bodies. And so it's looking at, the fit, slender woman being stuck in this fat woman's body. And then the heavier woman getting basically a new lease. Like, she suddenly has everything, including the body she wishes she had, and seeing how they each deal with that. And as someone who is, and has been for a good chunk of their adult life, overweight, this hurts a lot because I see a lot of myself in the overweight person. And so the angry and hateful things that come out of the beginning of this book sting a lot. And it was really, really difficult to get through. I had a very similar experience in college. I saw a play that we put on called Fat Pig, which is about, there's only like 4 major characters in the whole, 3 or 4 major characters in the whole play, but it's about an overweight woman who becomes involved with a very sort of conventionally attractive man. And throughout the course of the play, the guy's friends basically convince him that he shouldn't be dating her because she's fat. And he ends up breaking it off with her and can't really give her a good reason why, because he does like her and he cares about her, but he's letting his other friends dictate the relationship because of the way she looks and how they determine he looks because he's with her. I walked out of that theater in tears. It was a mess. But I'm Not Her brought back a lot of those same emotions because it's a lot of the same troubles I have personally. And it's another book that took me a bit before I could get into anything else because I had to sort of let my brain settle on it. In any event, those are my top 5. In as much as that's a really downer note to end on, sorry. But let me know, what are your top 5 books that left you with book hangovers, either positive or negative. Sometimes you wake up after a whole party night and you feel fantastic, and other nights you spend the day in the bathroom. So let me know what happens with you, what books. Just talk to me in the comments. I like hearing from y'all. But until next time, I'm going to go take some cold medicine and probably track down some lunch. And I will see you all again on Tuesday. Bye! Truck, shut up. Why is it so warm in my apartment? This is always a problem when I record. I'll fix it later. So I know it's sitting right over here. Somewhere. Oh no, I moved it. Where did it go? Book. Book, where did you go? Book, I've put you somewhere. Book, where did I put you? There's a whole bunch of them. Where did they all go? Book. Bag. Bag has books in it.